What happens if a situation arises that you were unprepared for? A situation such as a blizzard, a tornado, or being locked down due to a virus. Put yourself in any possible situation that could arise. Now ask yourself, what would you do? Where would you go? What do you need? Are you ready? Because what if tomorrow?
Welcome to the What If Tomorrow podcast. I'm Philip.
And I'm Mark.
And man, tonight we've got a show for you. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. I've kind of taken a break from the news and all that good stuff here lately to kind of give my mind a break. But hey, let's do this. Let's go first things first with our ad.
Hey, this is Mark with What If Tomorrow and What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. Be sure to check out our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com, and look at our cool merch. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more. Our affiliates are Duke Cannon, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, and Conflicted the Game. Or check out buymeacoffee.com/whatiftomorrow and buy us a coffee. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and share on both Facebook and YouTube. It helps get our content out to others and help our channel grow. Now on with the show.
Yeah, I don't know. With what's going on in the world today, everybody's aware of inflation, all this good stuff. I wanted to revisit this. And if you guys are just joining or you're listening to this, I put up a video up on our YouTube channel. We're going to start becoming more active on YouTube. It was a thought out video, and there's, I got to find it real quick. But I wanted to play a short for you. We shared on my wife and I's channel on the Night Acres. It's a short that we ran into here. Let's see what we got here. Is that it? No. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. But anyway, go to our YouTube channel over at the Night Acres, or you can watch the video. It's the very first video. It's like an intro video to it. It's about a minute long. Let's see here. What's up, Enzo? Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that first video, we were out driving around on our side-by-side, and I come up on this wheat field. Mark, you know where it's at. It's up north of where we work at.
Right.
And I think, have you seen that? Did you see a little short I put up here last week before, whatever?
Yes.
With the hay bales, it was wheat. They're baling wheat. There wasn't enough there to cut. There's a lot of fields. Go ahead.
I noticed it was green when they cut it, while everything around it was ripe. So I'm thinking that might have also been somebody's fault for not getting it in on time.
And it very well could be.
But yeah, I mean, they cut it. It looked to me like it was going to come to a head soon, and it was looking pretty good. And then they just cut it.
Yeah, is that better?
Yes, you sound good.
Okay, because well, Enzo said it didn't sound like my primary mic was on. It wasn't. I appreciate it. If I sound better, let me know. But yeah, so I don't know the reason. You know, we're still in a drought. We've had a lot of rain here in the last couple of months. Oh, sweet, thank you. The last couple of months, but it helps me. It makes me wonder, because you drive. We drive around. We'll go out for little rides on the side by side up and down country roads and stuff like that. And a lot of the wheat is extremely short.
Yes, it is.
And I know I even seen a news article, and they were talking about they had a decent wheat harvest and just, I don't know, 10, 15 miles east of us. And I'm not saying it's widespread, but it causes me concern in this climate that the wheat's not coming in. I mean, we all kind of knew it was going to happen because of the drought.
It
And I
was
mean,
dry.
it was bad. We were what, 15 inches? In
15 or 16, yes,
yeah.
below where we need to be.
Yeah, and we're still not where we need to be. If you look on the NOAA website, it tells us we're still in an extreme drought. Even though we've gotten quite a bit of rain, my cucumbers are going crazy right now. I mean, we've got more cucumbers we know what to do with besides make pickles, which we'll probably be doing that before long.
I'll put in an order.
Okay. But yeah, our garden's going great. Our squash finally took off and they're getting huge and got blooms. We got tomatoes everywhere. We got peppers coming on. We got a bunch of stuff coming on. And I wanted to just kind of come back around to this subject. I know we've talked about it before, but I want to make sure people are aware and are thinking of this stuff. But one thing that really kind of bothered me, okay, was I heard here a week or two ago. Enzo said when he visited here a couple months ago, he was shocked to hear how dry it had been there. He said, I thought it was just Western Kansas. No, sir, it's been all over. Southeastern part is really bad, especially the next county to the west over in Chautauqua County. It's crazy.
It's bad over there.
Crazy dry. So that's going to have an effect on the crops. I mean, we were driving around, my wife, I saw that. I was concerned. So I shot that little video for our YouTube channel, and we were driving around some more, and just the fields that have nothing planted in it. Okay. They all look just terrible. I mean, granted, yes, there's weeds and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. If you look at the soil, it's not what it needs to be. It doesn't appear to be anyway on the top.
It does not look healthy.
No, it doesn't. You think, I mean, healthy soil, you're going to look, I mean, it's a deep, dark, loam, a really dark, almost black soil. I understand that. I mean, farmers have to give the fields a break and all that. And I know the one around us, I haven't seen them planting anything in it this year. Across the road from me, they've just put in soybeans. They're probably a couple inches high, which is good. But if you look at everything, I mean, how much is driven off of corn or wheat or even soybeans? I mean, everything. It's in everything if you look. And what I'm trying to say is this is going to have an impact. If this is widespread, and I pray to God that it's not, if this is widespread, it's going to get rough.
Yeah. And it is, I've been seeing a lot of crops that and not just from the water, in the last 10, 15 years, I've noticed that a lot of these farmers, especially if they're a commercial outfit, have not been rotating their crops like they did when I was a kid. And that is a big part of keeping your soil healthy, is rotating your crops. And you're going to get, I mean, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have good soil, you're not going to get good crops out of it. And if you're not rotating your crops, you're not going to have good soil.
No, I mean, like the soybeans, they'll put nitrogen back in the ground. I mean, and they'll rotate it. I mean, and that's the purpose behind that idea, is to keep your nutrients in the soil. But I think everything is so, and I'm not knocking farmers by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want anybody to think I am. I have a ton of respect for those guys, the hours they worked when they're busy, all that. I mean, they're extremely hardworking people. And there's less farmers today than there's ever been. So that even their workload is even double, triple, quadrupled, trying to feed the masses.
A lot of your small-time farmers are part-time farmers. They have a day job, and then they farm in their spare time, and that might be part of the problem.
And it could be. That's why I say, if you look at the soil conditions and all that, and I'm just speaking around here, I don't know what's going on in Kentucky or Washington State or whatever. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. All I'm saying is what I'm seeing here. But if it's the consensus, just your food alone is going to be so poor in nutrients that it's not going to help you as a person. That's why I've really been trying to lean hard and say, start planting your own foods. You can grow stuff inside, microgreens. I know if you get a chance, go watch Off the Grid with Doug and Stacy on YouTube. They push microgreens hard, but these people are literally off the grid. They don't have running water. They don't have power. I think they have a solar setup, but nothing that's going to run like an air conditioner or anything like that. They grow 90% of their own food. I mean, you kind of heard us talk about it when we talked about the Okie Homestead Expo. It's not easy, and we're finding that out. I mean, as much stuff as we're doing, I mean, we put in a lot of time here at my place trying to just keep up with what we have, plus working full time and a half. Really, my wife, she works full time, so it gets hard to keep up with. And I'm sitting there looking at her garden this evening, and I'm like, when everything comes up, it's going to be tough, because we're wanting to can a lot and all that. And we're in a learning process, but I just implore everybody that's listening, watching, whatever, to start. Get what you can now. I mean, the growing season is not over by any stretch of the imagination. I mean,
Oh no.
I'm sitting here thinking, because we've got stuff we're ready to pull, ready to harvest, and we're debating on what to put back into it. And for a fall garden, so we have that stuff coming in. I mean, I'm not far from digging potatoes. My potato plants went crazy this year. I hope they're as good on top of the soil, or hope they're as good under the soil as they are on top of the soil, because my tomato plants are probably about 3 foot high, and that's after I've piled up straw around them, and they just took off and got away from me. So I'm hoping they're as abundant underneath as they are on top. But something I want to share, when you guys hear about, we talk about my garden and gardening and all that stuff, but something I want to share. In 2022, it came out that the U.S. government, USDA, wants people to register their gardens.
That's not communist at all.
No, absolutely not. And I want to share this real quick. So if you're listening, come over to YouTube or Twitch or over on our Facebook page to see if, to check this out, because I want to share this. And it's kind of, to me, it's a little disturbing. Where'd it go? But they actually had USDA.gov/peoples-garden. And they're trying to sell it to the public. And here's a little map, at least in our area, of places that have registered.
People who have drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Let me see if I can zoom out. I mean, but there's several places that have registered. And I'm like, it's none of your business.
Right. It just makes it easier for them to come seize your food.
Right. And to regulate you, they can come. I've heard stories of the government coming in and people selling stuff at farmers markets. And I've heard the government coming in and ruining that food that they're harvesting, because it doesn't fit their whatever. I mean, I don't know the full story behind it, but it exactly. And so, I mean, why register? What's it for? It said, the topic, the USDA People's Garden says the simple act of planting a garden can have big impacts, from building a more diverse and resilient local food system to empowering communities to address issues like nutrition access and climate change.
That doesn't tell us why they want us to register.
No. Let's see, webinars, history of People's Garden. I guess it was introduced, or secretary, the People's Department, President Abraham Lincoln, who described USDA as the People's Department. Yeah, what? Yeah. Secretary Tom Vilsack started the first People's Garden on February 12th, 2009, Lincoln's 200th birthday. Wow, the way to hide it in Lincoln,
Yeah.
There's not a lot of information on here. See, what is a People's Garden here? We'll mess around on here. Let's see. Types of People's Gardens. People's Gardens can take many forms: food gardens, wildlife, habitat, and sustainable gardens, beautification, education, and training, all that good stuff. Food act. I'm just clicking around on here.
Well, it looks to me like they've tried to church it up real good, but
yes,
I find it disturbing.
I do too. Absolutely do. I've done a little bit of research on there, and I actually shared a video on the video I played today, or there's a link to the actual video of it. But it bothers me. There's a point in time. Where did I see it? I'm trying to find it here. Sorry if you're watching. I'm just scrolling. Yeah. Said, see what's happening. It's just below the map. Said, see what's happening at the USDA's headquarters garden in Washington, D.C., and our 17 urban hubs and locations across the nation and beyond. Join the People's Garden community. Grow using sustainable practices and the benefit people and wildlife. Teach about local resilient food systems. Okay, it sounds pretty vanilla. It really does. But
it really does.
I can't help but think, there's a nefarious purpose.
I could see if they wanted you to register a public garden that's open to the community. But I can't see them registering a private garden. That smacks of wrongness right there.
Yeah, to me it does, absolutely. See, that's just the USDA. Let's see, garden. Number 2 on the search. Here, opens People's Garden Initiative to gardens nationwide. I mean, yeah, it's. See, how to register. To be eligible, gardens benefit the community by providing food, green space, wildlife habitat, education space. Our collaborative effort. This can include groups working together with USDA agencies, food banks, after-school programs, Girl Scouts, Master Gardens, conservation districts, etc. Incorporate conservation management practices such as using native plant species, rain barrels, integrated pest management, xeriscaping, I don't know what that is, and educate the public about sustainable gardening practices and the importance of local, diverse, and resilient food system providing healthy food for community. I wanted to say something. I've heard or seen something about them, the impact of the environment. But to me, I mean, I don't. Again, I agree with you with what you said. If it is a local community garden, okay, I don't see a problem with that. But to me, that's not a very far reach to start making people or trying to make people register their own personal gardens.
I know it smacks of banning the collection of rainwater, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, if you think about it, I just thought about that when I was reading it, where they're talking about rain barrels. How many states have made collecting rainwater illegal?
Several.
I mean, I think we can do it here up to so much. I can't remember, but I mean, without actually doing some digging. But yeah, you can collect rainwater and use it for your own purposes and all that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to tell anybody. It's nobody's business.
And unless you're in an HOA, nobody really cares.
Right. And unfortunately, I mean, we're literally stuck in the middle. You have the East and West Coast where things are way different. than what they are here in the middle of the U.S.
That's true. It is
You
very
know,
true.
and then you break it up into little subsections to where you have your bigger cities and you have your more rural areas. The more rural areas are probably going to leave you alone more often than not. Whereas your bigger cities, they'll raise a complaint and all that. And I can see it probably to some aspects, pretty much anywhere. There's going to be somebody that's, for lack of a better term, is drink the Kool-Aid. Let's
Right.
see. Okay. Chris said Kansas can do it as long as it's not hurting your neighbors. Well, I don't have any neighbors, so
Right.
But excuse me, if you think about it, and I think I've mentioned this before. I know I've mentioned it to, I think maybe just you and I talking, maybe Mark. If everybody does this, if everybody were to plant and grow something, your own food in some way, shape, or form, any way you possibly can, whether it be using buckets or, planting in the ground or aquaponics or whatever, any way you could grow some of your own food in your windowsill or whatever. How much of an impact would that have on this system? Plus, if you're raising your own food, you're getting more nutrients. What was it Joe said? Is something like you can get more nutrients from 1 acre of land using permaculture than you can like a huge field, something along that lines. But if you plant your own stuff and you raise it yourself, whether you use fertilizer or natural fertilizer, which we're trying to do this year, we're using was it, my wife would know this, and I don't know that she's watching right now, but neem oil, I think is what it's called. And you mix it with water and you mix it with a little bit of detergent. We just posted a video up today on the Night Acres channel about it, or I think she did a short for pesticides and stuff like that, instead of using these harsh chemicals like Seven Dust or all this other stuff. Just using soap and water will kill these bugs.
Oh yeah, we use that on ants all the time here at the house.
Yeah. My brother, we were over visiting with him here the other day, and he tried it. He said he watched a video on it and tried it, and he went out and he had some squash bugs, and we were starting to get squash bugs, and I think one of them wiped out one of our small squash plants. So we started spraying, and I haven't seen them. I was out there checking it last night, and I saw one kind of got away. So we probably need to spray again because it's rained or whatever. But there's natural ways to handle this. I mean, you don't have to use the harsh, the chemicals and stuff that will actually make it worse for your food. Whereas if you're using something natural like neem oil or something like that to prevent pests and whatever, you can companion plant like we do with our tomato plants. Like every 3 or 4 tomato plants we have a basil plant planted, and basil is actually a companion plant with tomatoes because it's supposed to prevent like hornworms, stuff like that. It's supposed to kind of keep them away because of such a strong odor, and it also is supposed to improve the flavor of the tomatoes. We'll find out.
Especially in a sauce.
Oh yeah.
They say that rosemary is really good for keeping insects away.
Yeah.
In fact, rosemary oil is good for a insect repellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, there's ways to do it. Obviously if you're inside, I mean, it doesn't mean you're not going to get bugs, but you might have a little bit more of a controlled environment. If you're growing something in your windowsill or under a grow light or something like that. But yeah, there's so much. And I came across something, just with growing stuff, but this was from the worldbank.org. Let's see. Hey, it's my wife. Speaking of, where'd I go here? Food security, worldbank.org. Domestic food production or price inflation remains high around the world. Information from the latest month between January 23rd, April 20th, or January of 23 and April of 23, for which food price inflation data are available, shows high inflation in most low and middle income countries, with inflation higher than 5% in the 70.6% of low income countries, 81.4% of lower middle income countries, and 84% of upper middle income countries, with many experiencing double digit inflation. In addition, 80.4% of high income countries are experiencing high food price inflation. The most affected countries are in Africa, North America, Latin America, South Asia, Europe, and Central Asia. In real terms, food price inflation exceeded overall inflation in 84.5% from 161 countries where data is available. Let's see. They go into talking about Russia agreed to a 2-month extension of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. They're allowing Ukraine to ship grain. It's nuts. I mean, everybody's affected by inflation. 100%.
Yeah.
And, your dollars dang sure don't go as far. Now's the time, if you're not growing your own food, start checking out these farmers markets.
Some of the best stuff I've ever bought came from a farmer's market.
Definitely. My son, he was talking about, because where he lives at, he's just like half a block away from the weekly farmers market. So he goes down there and buys his vegetables and stuff that he uses, which the majority of the time it's cheaper than what you can pay for it at the store. Plus it's even better because it's locally grown, homegrown. And so check those out. That's the biggest thing, is just find other avenues. We are growing our stuff to try to get away from having to go to the store. We're trying to stockpile, and there's that buzzword. We're trying to stock up enough of our food that we grew, so we don't have to go to the store as much to buy groceries. We're trying to be proactive, I guess, while we can, and figure out ways to garden. I mean, there's some lessons learned already this year that we didn't think about. We're getting into new things. You guys have seen our pigs. We got a new addition. We got a little boar over the weekend. There'll be some videos coming up on that. I'm not saying this to brag or anything like that. All I'm trying to say is we're trying to take those steps. And fortunately, we have the space to do that. Not everybody does. So that's kind of my thoughts on it is we want an overabundance for us. That way we can help other people out. Because, like we preached for the last year, it's about community. It's about
It really
community.
is. Really is.
To add fuel to the fire, apparently labor issues, and this is from CNBC. I don't go to this site very often. I'm sure you guys know this. But from CNBC, June 6th, there's updated June 7th. West Coast port labor issues continue as some Los Angeles, Long Beach rail shipments get temporarily paused. So it's all up and down the West Coast, actually. It's not just in Long Beach and Los Angeles. It's all up and down the West Coast. I think I've seen Portland. I think I've seen Seattle. All these labor strikes, all this, they're causing, shipments to back up because they're not offloading food. So is that going to affect us?
I'm sure.
Absolutely, it will. So what do we do? Go ahead, Mark.
I said it's just going to increase food waste. 40% of foods in your grocery store just gets thrown out. So that tells me they could sell it cheaper to sell more, and people could get more for their dollar, but they're not. I'm sure there's other things involved in it, but
Now, see, here is, I'm sure there is. This is called GoComet.com. It shows port congestion. This is your delays for ships getting into port to offload their goods. Long Beach is 1 day. Tacoma, Washington is 3 days. Miami is 1 day. Savannah is 1 day. Norfolk is 3 days. New York, Houston, Jacksonville are all 1 day. Newark is actually on schedule, I guess, 0 days. Then you have Seattle, 9 days out.
9
Oakland,
days.
5 days out. Yeah. Charleston, South Carolina, 1 day. Tampa, Florida is 8 days. Boston, 1 day. This is huge shipping ports.
And every day that those ships sit out at sea, I mean, if it's just a standard cargo, then yeah, it's a delay, but it costs everybody money.
What's up,
if
son?
it's food, it just creates more waste. Less food gets delivered. It goes bad faster. It's not a good thing.
No, it's not. And yes, and Enzo, you're absolutely right. Enzo said that's way better than it was last year. Still a few bottlenecks in our supply lines. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm just trying to look at the overall picture, and see, okay, these are the delays. Something Mark and I, we kind of met here was about 2 weeks ago. Mark, it was a Sunday night. You and I kind of met.
Sunday night a couple weeks ago.
And talked about some things. And we do have some announcements coming. That's not necessarily to do with a podcast, but just some things we have in ideas that are kind of growing right now. But one comment I made is I would like for this show to be part of the solution. I'm trying to get away from just a constant negative press, man. I mean, because it was affecting me mentally, and it's easy to do.
Oh yeah, it's depressing.
It is, absolutely it is. I'm bringing you these and it's showing my cousin. Oh, you're absolutely right, cuz. Deanna, she said, I worry about you guys on this platform. Big Brother is keeping notes. We've been at this almost 3 years.
Yeah.
August 3rd will be 3 years. I'm excited. But we want to be part of the solution. We want to educate. And that's kind of where we're trying to take the shows to more of an educational show, to offer solutions. And right now, like I said, is the time to Mark, your screen froze up and your eyes are closed. I'm like, man, am I putting you to sleep? What the
heck? Everything's looking good on my side. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you kind of froze for a second. And but we want to be part of the solution. And if that's why we're going to kind of become more active on YouTube, Rumble, because this show, as soon as it's done posting to YouTube, like we're live right now on YouTube, it will kick over to Rumble, so that we still have that aspect of a more free speech platform. Now, I'm not trying to knock it, because let's be real. Facebook and YouTube are the big shows in the game. They're the big players.
Yeah.
So we have to use them.
They're like the We Say So
Right.
company.
Up until, Rumble is able to, take to surpass. I mean, we'll be on the platforms we're on. And so Big Brother got him.
And
He
yep,
got
he got me.
Arkansided.
I got Arkansided. Yep.
Yeah.
I did note that Rumble just bought a podcast distributor called Callin. So I'm excited to see what that means for free speech broadcasters. So
Let's see. Deanna, she said, I worry about the battle coming, and with this platform, you guys are front and center. Well, I mean, if that's the case, that's the case. I mean, we were born in a time such as these, we kind of knew this going in. The stuff we were going to talk about was probably going to ruffle some feathers, and we kind of expect it. So exactly. She said, I put that out there. I'm there too.
yeah.
But that's kind of where we want to take this. Is we want to be part of the solution. Because it doesn't matter your political affiliation. It doesn't matter your views on us, views on anything else. Everybody knows that the government does not have your best interest at heart.
Well, there's some people who still think that, but
deep down,
still
they
believe in
believe
Santa.
Well, yeah. I mean, my 8-year-old's getting to that point where he don't. So, and I do agree. I think maybe there's some people, but you can't tell me that all this BS going on is not opening people's eyes. You can't tell me that people aren't waking up.
I think that's why they're backing off on some of their more frightening endeavors.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I can't help but think, what are they? How are they trying to shift to go behind?
They're just shifting the timeline, yeah.
Right, or they're giving it a new name or something like that.
They do a lot of rebranding.
Yep. They church it up and make it sound good, great, and wonderful, like this whole community garden thing, and yeah, you're absolutely right, Deanna. She said you have more faith in people than I do. They are scared or sleeping. Yeah. Yep. But I think, at least for the most part, most people realize, hey, the government is not going to take care of us. I hope. Well, I may have to eat my words, but I hope COVID taught everybody a lesson. And this may get flagged for me using that word. I don't know. But with everything that happened, yeah, for sure, Enzo. Enzo said people are definitely waking up. Ask Bud Light and Target. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, they're losing their shirts.
It's, I don't know. I mean, is it too little, too late? I don't know. But I think it's kind of one of the, it reminds me of 9/11 in the aspect of how the nation came together on 9/12.
Yeah. I mean, really, there was no left, right.
No,
there was a little bit, but it really, everybody was Americans. First and foremost.
Right. And I was just sitting there wondering, Deanna, if that would, if something big enough happened, would people come together? But I was sitting there kind of contradicting my own thought. Yes, I would agree with that, Enzo. I said it feels like a lot of people came out of the lockdowns with the realization of how often the news lies to them. Yes, absolutely. You have to do your own research. That's something Mark and I have said from day one. Don't take our word for anything. Research for yourself. Form your own opinion.
And if we're wrong, tell us.
Absolutely. I want to know if we're wrong.
I'll
Absolutely
sleep a
wanna know.
lot better if I
Yep.
know that I'm wrong about this.
Right. And but back to Deanna's comment, that won't happen again. Is it because I think we are so divided as a nation. I don't know. It's going to take something extremely catastrophic to bring us back together as a nation.
I'm afraid that's correct, but I hope it's not.
Me too, absolutely. But that's just the way that's the way I'm looking at it. And I'm not trying to be negative again, but I believe that's what's going to take. I really, as much as I hate to say it, it's going to take something extremely catastrophic. In all honesty, and this may sound negative, but I would rather it happen now. If it's going to happen, I'd rather it happen now so I can be there for my kids to get through it.
Right. I don't want it to happen when I'm gone and I'm not there to support my children.
Right. In all honesty, will it really matter if we're gone to us? But I don't want that. Yeah, Sonny, I don't know, man. Is that why we're going to go to war with China? Are we going to war with China? That's a good question, man. That's something I've wondered. Yeah, there's a lot of drum beating, a ton of it. But are we going to? Can China afford it? Can we afford it? I don't know.
We prop up their whole economy, and they prop up ours.
Sonny, he said that everybody's be kung fu fighting.
And now that's going through my head. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you very much.
Too bad. I wish we wouldn't get copyrighted for it. I'd find it to play it. Yeah, I believe you're right, Deanna. So what's scary is we're in a catastrophe. Enzo, he said they don't want to go to war with their best customer. No, they don't.
No, they've invested too much in this country.
Right. And I could speculate a lot of what's going on in the news with China and us and all that. Sure, again, there's war drums, but let's face it, war helps the economy.
It does.
It's the whole military industrial complex, that Eisenhower talked about when he was leaving office. The tech economy. I saw rumblings on the other day talking about a huge cyber attack. I didn't really get a lot into it, but they're saying it's either Russia or China. And that's the sad part is right. So the most terrifying. Yeah, Deanna said the most terrifying thing is that people see nothing. All the distractions are working. Yes.
Yep. They're wagging the dog every day and people are just watching the dog.
I'll never forget, when we were talking to Frank last summer. Or no, that was about a year ago, wasn't it?
It was about a year ago.
We need to get him back on.
Absolutely.
And get his opinion on how this past year has been. Because he's been busy. But you're talking wagging the dog, man. I'll never forget when I asked Frank that, because if you're not aware, what was his name? Frank, his name just lost my mind or just left my mind.
Jacob.
Frank Jacob. Yeah. He's a filmmaker, author, all this good stuff. And he lives in Germany, and which is like right next door to Ukraine, all that. And I asked him, this is when Ukraine was really firing up and all that. You guys can go back and listen to it or watch it.
It's still pertinent.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It was the first show we did with Frank on it. And unfortunately, we could go live, I guess, when he comes on, if we can get him back on. But when I asked him, I said, so my thoughts on the whole Ukraine thing, is it a wag the dog situation? And he's like, well, at the start, you weren't far from the truth. Because nobody knows what to believe anymore.
No, I mean, you can't trust anything.
No, and unfortunately, you can't. Deanna, she said, "Don't get me started about Russia and Ukraine. I'll be picked up tonight and hated by all." Enzo, he said, "I feel a lot more people than you think are taking notice. Still quiet, but realize there are shenanigans going on." You know,
I think
I
that's
would,
also true.
yeah, I would agree with that. And a lot of people feel powerless.
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
Yep. Because if you watch, I mean, I'm seeing people's rights violated all the time by local police officers and all of this. There was during this whole Pride Month thing, and I'm not going to go off a rail because I know it'll get us kicked. But there was a pastor, I think it was somewhere, I can't remember, Jersey or somewhere on the East Coast. And there was a pastor protesting the whole thing, and he's reading scripture, and this cop told him to shut up. He said, "No, sir." He said, "This is a public place and I'm exercising my First Amendment right." The cop arrested him, took him to jail, and then they dropped the charges.
Oh, because they knew that they would be in trouble.
Yeah. I would still sue.
I would absolutely have a lawsuit, infringement of
Yep.
my First Amendment rights.
Yep. And it's stuff like that. I mean, it's not uncommon. Canada is going crazy with all this stuff right now. And unfortunately, I see it happening here, especially if you're a Christian.
Oh yeah,
If you're speaking the Bible and all of this, exercising your rights, and that's what it is. You're exercising your First Amendment right. But I see all this coming to pass. But how? Let's shift away from this. Let's so listen, yeah, D here, Deedle. I listen to you guys a lot, but I just have to be in the mood to chat. You guys keep fighting, and many of us just want to be left alone or watching and taking note. Well, I appreciate that. I do.
yeah.
How do we solve this supply chain collapse, if there is one, or if there's one coming, or whatever? Through inflation, through the ports, through the growing season not being so great, whether you're in a drought or floods, because we know floods are going to happen. It's just that time of year. I mean, it's a given.
Yeah.
It's going to flood somewhere. I mean, we know this. The biggest solution I could tell anybody is the way we started the show. Plant your own food. Grow your own food. And again, I don't disagree there either. She said the supply chain is controlled. I don't disagree at all.
And one of the reasons why the supply chain looks like it's improving is because people are buying less because they have less spending power for their dollar. So because they're ordering less, the supply chain looks like it's normalized. But if we were consuming at the rate we were before inflation, we would be looking at even more delays.
Yes.
So
let's see. Enzo said that's key. Most people just want to be left alone. Yeah.
that's
so
true.
You can't even have a conversation about movies or TV without someone calling you an ist or a phobe. Enough. Yes. And I really think for the average person, Enzo, that is the general consensus. People just want to be left the hell alone. Let me live my life. Stop trying to control everything that I do. Stop trying to control the air that I breathe. Let me live my life.
So
Yep. My wife, she put up there, she said small community gardens and buying local meat is how the supply chain gets fixed. Bam, that's it right there.
That is a big deal. And I don't know about where other people live, but around here, if you look around just a little bit, you put a call out on Facebook, somebody's going to say, yeah, so-and-so is selling beef. So-and-so is selling pork. And it's fresher. It's better tasting. It's higher quality. Somebody told me that the quality of meat in the meat department of a lot of your big box stores is not even, a lot of it wouldn't even be considered grade A.
Right.
So
My wife was showing me something here the other day. I don't know, that's been maybe a week or two ago. And they were talking about mixing that pink slime
the
in with the hamburger and stuff.
ammoniated hamburger.
Yep.
Now, I will tell
And
you this, it does keep in the fridge a lot longer.
hmm But see, there again, if you're eating fresh, it's better for you, obviously.
It is.
If you're going to a local butcher, we have, and again, I'm speaking from our experience where we live. But you can find them anywhere you go. I'm sure you can find them. A local butcher. You may pay a premium on it.
You get what you pay for, though.
Exactly. If you're going to these big chain groceries, Walmart, Kroger, Food Line, all this stuff, chances are the meat is substandard. We went to Aldi's yesterday and I was looking at the meat. I'm like, the meat even looked better than what you would get at, like, say, Walmart.
Aldi's has got some good stuff.
We don't go down there very often, but so support your local businesses because they're the ones that are going to be around. I would absolutely agree. My wife, she said that's a whole other subject. They put that crap in our food to keep people sick and addicted.
I'm not going to discount that. That sounds absolutely true.
So there it is. I mean, that's the biggest solution. If you can't grow it, go to a local market, a local butcher, a farmer's market. If you can't grow your own food, there are ways to grow your own food. And in a lot of ways, really doesn't take much time. It didn't take much of your time. I mean, if you're growing it in a pot in the house, you're not going to get weeds.
No, it's a lot easier to take care of.
Yeah. Lewis, you realize he's been gone a year, man.
Oh man, yeah,
he's been gone a year.
Because that was right after we had
right after we started right back. Yep. We started right back up. If you guys have been around a while, you know who Lewis is. It's a guy that he was on the show. And the next day he disappeared, and then he was a couple of days later he was found deceased. But super great guy. But he was emailing me stuff and sending me stuff, and it was about these little. I can't remember the name of it. Man, I can't remember to save my life.
They were like dwarf tomato plants, right. Dwarf pepper plants.
Right.
Everything was dwarf.
And it was all inside.
Yeah. I've been looking at buying dwarf avocado, dwarf avocados to grow in a greenhouse.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Deanna said the more you think about it, the scarier it is. My wife said you can go over to Dennis and buy bulk vegetables. They can. Now, Dennis is a town that's near us, but it's they do a lot of Amish stuff over there because there's an Amish community over there. And let's see. Yeah, you must have missed that, Deanna. We were talking about that earlier. So have you heard rumblings of the USDA wanting people to register their gardens? Yep. It's all churched up.
Yep.
But to me, that's the only solution, is provide for yourself. Your local community. Again, community is key. Yep. Community is key. Go to your local grocery store. If you have a mom and pop grocery store, go support them. You're going to pay more. Yes.
Yes, you are.
but it's not going to some huge corporation that's government controlled, that's on board with this whole ESG and all this stuff.
Go to your farmers markets.
Yes. Not only can you get some amazing vegetables and stuff. My son, he was raving about this jalapeno pineapple jam. He was raving. He said, "Man, I bought that over." He said, "That was the best stuff ever, Dad."
I had bought some jalapeno jelly a couple years ago.
Stuff.
I had to stop eating it because I could not stop.
It's so good.
I had to
Hopefully
hide
we
it.
get enough. Hopefully we get enough peppers we can. My Deanna said it's going to be us in the central U.S. Yes, he said, but people in cities will abide. Yeah, we made some here a while back. What was that? It's not Azure Standard, which we've started shopping with them for our feed and stuff. You could order it and they would ship it to you like once a month.
Hello Fresh.
No, it was. We used to be able to go up and pick it up in Independence. Man, what the heck is it? It was the vegetables and stuff weren't like perfect. But you could get like bulk strawberries and bulk peaches.
Right.
Bountiful Basket. Yes, thank you. But we got a bunch of peaches, so we took some of our jalapenos and stuff, made jalapeno peach jam. Oh, it was so good. All right, D. Love you too. Mine are already done, so she said she has chores to do. Yeah, Enzo said, anyone in your area have bees? If I lived out there, I'd be interested. If I lived out there, I'd be interested in starting as a hobby. My brother actually just started this year raising bees.
Have you seen the self maintaining beehives?
Mm-hmm. The flow hives, isn't that what they're called?
You turn the comb upside down, and it drains through a system into jars, and you don't ever disturb the bees.
Right.
Which bees and I don't always get along really well. So.
But yeah, Enzo, my brother, I mean, we've been over there, kind of checking them out and stuff like that. And my wife and I have talked about getting bees when we get our orchard going, because that might be a next year project, is getting our orchard going. We got to sit down and make a list of the priority of the projects we want to get done, but that's going to be one of them. Probably, maybe fall. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they're interesting to watch. He was showing me a video the other day when we were over there that he had, they'd finally found the queen. Let's see, Skillinger, works night shift with y'all and lives out close to you, has bees. I know my brother was saying there was somebody close by that has them. He said, because apparently they'll send like, basically spies. Bees will send out like little spies to find other hives and try to rob from them. And if they get caught, the other bees will kill them because they don't belong in their hive. So they'll push them out. And he said, my wife said, fall would be a good time to transplant trees. Yeah. But we talked about starting our own bees and all that. But I'm like, man, I got a lot on my plate right now. Let's finish up what we got going. I think next, to my wife's happiness, we'll get some goats going. So
goats are good eating.
Yeah, they are. But she's wanting some milk goats and all that. So, if you haven't tried it, I tried it for the first time last night. We bought some there at Aldi's. We found some goat cheese. It was like an herbal mix. But it had like Italian herbs in it.
Well, I bet that was good.
It was pretty good. I mean, it was really, It reminded me kind of a almost like a mozzarella, but it had a little more zip or tang to it, I guess.
Right?
But it wasn't bad. It was good. And I warmed up a hamburger for lunch today because I grilled burgers last night, and I put some of that on there, and it almost like a spread, almost like a cheese spread. Just kind of mash it on there, and it doesn't
Nice.
melt like regular cheese does either. I mean, it kind of softens up, but it doesn't really melt off your whatever you have it on. And it's actually pretty made the burger really good.
Yeah. If I recall right, a lot of traditional Italian cheeses were supposed to be made with goat milk.
I don't know, but I mean it's a decent substitute.
You gonna make it, buddy?
Yeah, I'll get there. But yeah, coming back, talking about solutions. If you grow your own food is preferably your best option. If you can't, or I will say not willing to, go to your farmer's market, get stuff while it's in season. If they have enough produce, buy enough to can. Learn how to can. I mean, this is all about building new skills that people have forgotten.
You can literally buy stuff by the bushels at some of these farmers markets. And they're happy to let you have it for a really good price.
Yep. And so that makes sense. Goats are more prevalent in the Mediterranean than cattle. Yep. Yeah. Usually it's a lot cheaper. Most people aren't there to make a killing and make a ton of money. There's some people that I've heard down where my son lives that's what they do. That's how they make their living, is selling at a farmer's market. And if that's the way they do it, good on them. I'm happy for them.
Absolutely.
But go to a farmer's market, or everybody knows this guy at work or whatever that brings in bags full of vegetables because he's got a surplus. He's like, hey, take them home. Everybody has that person.
Yeah. One of our bosses was handing out cucumbers the other day.
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say. And most of the time they'll just give it to you.
Yeah, but they don't want to waste it.
Right. Find a way to stock up and can or dehydrate, freeze dry, which I want to start an experiment here probably in the next week or so. And I'm going to start trying to figure out how to freeze dry in our deep freeze. They say you can do it. I'm going to try it. See how it works.
Oh, yeah.
They say it'll take a lot longer, obviously. It takes like a month, I think, if you have room in your deep freeze. But I think it's worth a try.
Man, we're going to lose you, man.
I know it. Because that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned. Yes, you can, Chris. Absolutely. You can dehydrate in your oven. You don't have to have a big dehydrator, or you don't need a commercial grade dehydrator or anything like that. You can do it in your oven. You can do it in a smoker. You can do it on your grill. There's ways to do it. Search up the information.
You can build a solar dehydrator.
Yep. Well, think about it. All you need, like for vegetables, all you need is a frame with your wire screen, like your for your windows or
screen
door
screen. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can dehydrate, sun-dried tomatoes or sun-dried grapes, raisins, but whatever.
I remember my grandparents doing that. It was just a screen off the house.
Yeah. You can do it. There's ways to do it, man. I mean, but that's look, what I was saying was that's the biggest lesson that I learned down there. And it is to not store your food all in one way. Don't dry it all. Don't freeze it all. Don't can it all. Store it in multiple different ways. Dehydrate some. can some, freeze some. That way, if one of these systems breaks down, you have backup and you don't lose all of your food. Yeah, my wife, you're absolutely right. She's our dehydrator is ginormous. Yes, it is. She's been dehydrating some of our herbs and stuff that we've grown. I think she did
that's
thyme
awesome.
or oregano or something like that. We got to get some basil. The basil we're growing. I think it's just I can't remember if it's Italian basil or what kind of basil it is. But God, it smells so good. We'll sit out there and look like a couple crackheads sniffing it. And when we get out to the garden, we'll pick a leaf and just sniff it.
I love the smell of fresh basil. It's awesome.
But yeah. So think about it, guys. Think about your solutions. We've given you a lot of key simple solutions. I mean, not exactly, some of it's probably not exactly as simple as we make it out to be. When I say grow your garden, it does take some work. It's not easy. It's harder to start, but once you get started, it gets easier.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of generally just about everything you do, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Just start. Yeah, you're right. That's another thing, Enzo. I didn't think about that. He saw all those different methods result in different tastes and textures to the final product. So the same old thing seems to be a little bit different from batch to batch. And if you think about it in a preparedness situation, whether you're out of power for a couple of days, a week, or just total collapse, you're going to want that because you're going to get bored.
Absolutely.
People like variance. I mean, I love to eat if you can't tell, but you want things different, I mean, like how many ways are there to cook a potato, or it's good to know that you have that on hand. I mean, that's a really good point, Enzo. But yeah, first things first, you got to start. And that's the scariest part.
Yeah. Amongst all that, I would also recommend maybe buying a small generator. If nothing else, to keep your frozen food frozen long enough to cook it up and eat it.
Would Chris say not a 5-gallon of Farina, right, Mark?
I was looking at a 50-pound bag of Farina. It was extremely cheap. And now I'm a Farina freak. I don't know. But I really like cream of wheat. And it was so cheap by the big giant bag.
Yep.
I could have bought a big giant bag for the same price as like 4 tiny boxes at the store. It's like, why wouldn't I buy a big giant bag?
And my wife, she said, start where you are. Yes. She said she was just kidding, but we know.
Yeah. I still want to, it's still in my cart, honey. I'm not gonna lie, it's still in my cart.
My wife, she said, "Hey, cream of wheat is so good." Well, I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
I'll share with you, Andrea.
But no, that's the biggest
cream
thing,
of wheat for vegetables.
The biggest thing is to get started. Now's the time. I mean, growing season isn't over yet. I mean, we're midway probably through it. If you can find some plant to harvest within 90 days,
right? Or
you'll be doing all right.
Stuff that's due or that grows out, comes out in the fall.
Yep. At least for here anyway, probably the end of July, first part of August, you need to be planting your fall gardens. So potatoes and all that stuff. It's a little late to be planting lettuce and stuff like that, like right now, but you can turn it later on. And And then, my wife, she just planted some last weekend. Or was it the weekend before? I think it was the weekend before. We've already got lettuce and stuff coming up. Let's see. Enzo said, at the beginning of lockdowns, I bought a 50-pound bag of popcorn, filled up 2 5-gallon buckets with a few desiccant packs. I'm down to half a bucket now. Hey, I like popcorn too, man.
I mean, but that means you have to buy a commensurate amount of butter.
Yeah. See, that's why you need cows or goats. Make your own.
Goat butter popcorn? I mean, I'd try it.
I'd try it. Yeah.
I'd try it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Stuff to think about, guys. Keep an ear out. Mark and I, we're going to probably meet here in a couple of weeks. We're really busy at work right now. We're going to meet here in a couple of weeks, kind of lay out a ground plan and kind of for our big announcements and stuff like that are coming along. Next week, we got some special guests on the show on the Fringe. We've got the guys from Amok coming over to hang out with us and talk about some different things. And we had the pleasure of going on their podcast. Pam invited us, and you guys know and love Pam. And it was a lot of fun, and it's kind of the same thing.
Cool group.
They're a lot of fun. But again, it's that community thing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I mean, it's always better with a community.
It is. And sometimes the bigger the group, the more, most of the time, the bigger the group, the more fun you're going to have.
Right.
Until it gets too big and then everybody gets trampled.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be a lot of fun. Sorry. But no, man, I don't really have a lot else to share. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us. You can direct message me, you can email me, whatever. If you got any questions, you're confused, you don't know where to start, reach out to us.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll be happy to help you to help you take that first step.
And if you can't, Phil's our garden expert, but I'm kind of a shopping expert. You need to know where to find some of these things. I've got all kinds of sites, all bookmarked that I can forward your way so you can find the stuff that you need.
Yeah. I mean, we're not here just talking to you. We want to help. And that's the biggest thing. Hey, thanks, Chris. We really appreciate that. She says she's been enjoying our Night Acres channel. We're in the process of growing on that. If you're interested in kind of watching our journey, we're just getting started. I think we've got 4 or 5 videos up, a few shorts, stuff like that. If you're interested in that, go over and check it out. That's our personal journey, what we're doing here at our house. There'll be some more coming. I think we're shooting for 2 episodes a week, usually around Wednesdays and 1 on the weekend. Enzo, yes, sir. I totally agree with you. So I'm just an eating expert at the moment. Yes. My wife said, if it's about gardening, come on over to the Night Acres community. Yeah. We're on Facebook over there. Check us out on YouTube over there. Keep an eye out on the YouTube channel here. Because we're going to start doing some more stuff on YouTube. We're throwing some ideas and stuff around. You will probably have some little talks and stuff like I posted today. It's going to kind of be a free for all. We're both going to be doing stuff. Mark's got some really good ideas he's working on. So keep an eye out there too. So we're going to try to grow the podcast. We're going to try to grow the channel. And just, we've got a lot of big ideas, and I hope that we can make it happen. And with your guys' help, we surely can. So.
We absolutely can. I appreciate everyone's support.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun this evening, a lot of good conversation. Hope it wasn't too down, but we're just trying to bring the real life stuff to you, and hopefully offer some kind of a solution. Like I said, that's kind of our biggest goal now, is to be more of the solution than causing the problem and causing the fear and the panic and the stirring up people's emotions. That's not what we intended, not what I intended. And I could say I felt it was important that you guys knew, but this crowd, for the most part, already knew it. So,
and that's good.
It is good. It is a good thing. But folks, again, check us out next week on the Fringe, and with the Amok guys. Check out, keep an eye again. Check out YouTube. I can't even talk right now. Anyway, with that being said, hey, and again, Twitch. If you're not into YouTube or Facebook, check us out over on Twitch. We got somebody on Twitch right now watching us. So yeah, check us out over there. And if you're big on Twitch, share it with your buddies or whoever you I don't even know what they call it Twitch with. I don't know. It sounds like a tick or something. I don't know.
Twitch TV.
Is that on YouTube, Enzo? Enzo said he has some suggestions about the podcast. You should have separate channels for the prepper guarding fringe topics. The algorithm doesn't know where to send your stuff to spread the word.
We've actually talked about that. Yeah.
One thing that we were discussing with the girls last week after the show, we're going to be splitting the YouTube channel. We're going to have What If Tomorrow, and then we're going to have On the Fringe YouTube channel. The girls, we've invited the girls, Jessica and Pam, to be involved with that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's actually the plan, man. We were talking about that last week. That's part of our little meeting we had. But we've invited Pam and Jess to jump on there, to put stuff on there, to be part of it. I mean, they're just as much a part of On the Fringe as we are. And now they become a staple on that show. I wouldn't even call them a part-time co-host. They're a co-host. So I was actually talking to Mark because we're going to start we're reworking some of our intros and stuff like that. And I told him I'm going to start putting them on the intro because they're on the show. They're part of this show. They're a huge part of this show. And I appreciate everything that they bring to it. So they bring more of the intelligence. I'm not kidding when I say that.
They do. You're not wrong.
So, with that being said, I mean, we got a little bit of work to do. We got to get everything set up, but we're definitely going to be switching this up. So keep an eye out. I'll probably keep everything the same on Facebook just to kind of bring everybody together. But yeah, it'll definitely be different for the algorithm and all that stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you hanging out. We appreciate the comments. We enjoy interacting with you guys. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of good information being passed around. Thanks for hanging out with our little community here. And we'll catch you next episode, guys.
Good night.